Okay, so what I'm trying to do here is to give you some idea of what you need as a beginning set of tools, basically, if you're going to be an apprentice carpenter or joiner. Though most of these tools I've got here I've been using for the last 40 years or so out on building sites. So what I'm trying to do is to give you some idea of what you're going to need, really basic. First things first, you're going to want an hammer, and that's a 2-pane hammer, and as you can see it's total, the shaft is all one piece, shaft and head all one piece. Then you can use it as a pinch bar, you know, for pulling 8 nails and stuff like that. You're not gonna stress the head out. You know, the wooden handle if you had a wooden one, but no one ever has wooden ones now, do they? I've got one, of course, and a slightly lighter one for pins. These look a bit like they've been well used. It's because they have. Tape, most important. You're going to want a tape, and the longer it is the better. That's a 7.5, 24 foot, nice one. It moves about nice and easy in there. Sometimes the tight ones, sometimes they get dirty and they won't go back in. Saws. You can buy them all now, all hard point saws. You're going to want different types, but just buy, for the minute, just get anyone really to do you. But depending on what you're doing, if you're doing heavy work like roofs and stuff, look at the spacing of the teeth. You want one that's got bigger teeth, basically. You'll want a standing knife for sure. Well, I say standing knife, you'll want a knife. Pencil, you need a pencil. You will want a hand screwdriver. It's always happens. You end up doing a job and you've got to get ordinary slotted screws out. Nowadays, nearly every screw is got the hexagonal head on. And I've got a screwdriver that takes different types of bits, and I've got a box of bits there of all different types. You want a set of chisels. If you're going to buy your chisels, get some that have got the shaft goes right the way through to the end, and then you can use your hammer. So that saves you having a mallet. And also, if you're going to buy one, if you're going to buy chisels, buy a decent set of chisels. Look at the back and try and get one that's nice and smooth on the back. Sometimes they're slightly rounded. It takes ages to get a chisel down to a good working edge. So you really want something that's got a nice smooth back. As you can see, I mean, I've had this chisel for years. It was that long when I started with it. Cramps, I like these cramps because they're ratchet cramps. That releases the ratchet, just pressing that. I like them. And you'll want a cramp just for holding your work. Then you'll want a set of drills. I like these kind of drills. You can see I haven't used that one for a while, but these are self-pulling. They're good. These are cheap, but you can end up with a whole lot of different sizes in a very small packet is what you want. And similar to this, even though you'll probably end up with a tin with them all in, not that sort of thing. A Plumb Bob, if you're doing roofing, a Plumb Bob is really useful. You'll need some masonry drills to suit the two types of plugs. Axle, you never know what you want an axle for. All you know is that you want to bring an axle. If you're fitting locks and furniture, you'll want a junior axle, and of course you'll want a decent pencil. Where have I got? If you're roofing, you will want bevels. These are quite small, but you can now get nice big ones. As you can see, these are quite old. As I say, I have been doing chipping for some time. You want a mitre square, and I've got a square here with a bubble in it. Very useful. Gauges, if you end up doing some joinery out on site, a couple of gauges, and as you can see, I've drilled a hole and I've put a pencil through there. Really useful, that is. Really useful. Right, so that's your basic set of drill. Oh, and I've got a centre punch there, but I use that for punching in pins. But that's your basic set. Then coming on, you'll want other things. you will want a sharpening block. Now there's all sorts of things on site on the internet that tell you about how you sharpen the chisels up. I have got this slipstone, smooth one side, coarse on the other side. That's looking a bit dry. I use Terps to clean that one up, and I've got a really fine one there. You actually don't need the super fine one for what if this is general building type carpentry. That's all you want, and you can buy that just like it is, and that's an Indian rubber stone, right? And I made the box to go with it, of course, but that box is quite old. You will want, if you're roofing, you want a big square. Now naturally I've got this square because it's one my dad made years and years ago, and I've always used it. And when I'm doing roofing, I mark up my plumb cuts, and I use that for my seat cut. That's why I got two of them. And then once I've worked out what I want, I can then mark it, and I use it like that. Because your big metal squares, if you're not careful, you can actually make a mistake. So it's useful having a felt pen just to mark on the square. Then coming along, we now got, you need to carry the blinking stuff, and as you can see, I've got a trug, an ordinary gardener's trug there, that when I'm doing a job outside, you want to put in your special tools that you want. The job I'm doing is a kitchen, which I'm just making good. So I've put the tools that I want in a trug, so that I can do me business, and I've got all the tools I want. It saves carrying a load of stuff, and a box with various size screws in are also really useful, and a bag. If you're leaving tools anywhere, you know, like even when you're on the job, they're much better in a bag or covered. For some reason or another, carpenters on site tend to be a food bank, not a food bank, a tool bank. It's a couple of levels, different lengths levels. I love this big long level of mine. As you can see, it's got a bit cemented up, but I like the big level because sometimes it's useful to have a 4-foot straight edge, especially if you're cutting cheap material. Very useful. And a small boat level. I didn't put a boat level out here, but a boat level would be very useful. Then also, almost invaluable, are your power tools. Now, I've got mostly battery power tools. We don't hardly ever use pluggy in tools anymore now. And as you can see, I've got a rip saw. That is super. That one works a treat. They're all getting old now. And a drill, but you could buy a complete set. And then I've got some of my old electric power tools that you know, plug-in in ones, but everything needs to be on site now 110, and that is why if you've got your battery tools, they are much better. And that goes for that's I've got a jigsaw there as well. Because I didn't put on here, I didn't put a coping saw on there, but a coping saw would also be useful as well. But as I say, hopefully I haven't confused you, and hopefully I haven't left anything out, but what's on the table is what you need as your basic just to get yourself started. So, and a toolbox. The toolbox is dead useful. Mostly, let's walk you over and show you one of the really old. This is a Shipwright's Toolbox from the dockyard in Portsmouth, and as you can see, I'm still using it. But I think a chest toolbox is the thing for site work. You can lock it up. Unfortunately, your workmates aren't always honest. They borrow things and they simply forget to put it back. So there you go. Hopefully that's given you some idea of what you may well need on site. It just looks like a big jumble of tools, don't it? But if you're starting work as an apprentice, go and buy a couple of saws, different tooth pitches, a hammer, a set of chisels, and a sharpening stone, and a decent tape and a big pencil. That'll get you started. Hope it's useful. Bye for now.